Welcome to Intimate Conversations, where we support you in healing heartbreak so you can live fully embodied, unapologetically, and deliciously free, being exactly who you are. We are sponsored by Magic Mind, my morning elixir that I swear gives me more focus, expands my joy, and puts an extra spring in my step. So, okay, you luscious creature, it is time to get intimate. Hello, delicious people. Welcome back to another episode of Intimate Conversations with a gorgeous couple on the outside and definitely on the inside. We're going to learn so much from Dr. Elsbeth Muth. Am I saying that right? Beautiful sister?
Moit.
Moot.
M-O-I-T.
Moit. Thank you. Elsbeth Moit. Thank you. And Freddy Zentel. And you can learn more about them at tantranova.com. They have an amazing audio program coming up I want to share with you about sexual enlightenment. We'll get to that in a moment. But let me read you their bio before we get underway with this delicious conversation. So they have assisted thousands of couples and singles create lasting intimacy and fulfillment in their life and in their relationships. And they are featured on Showtime's documentary series, Sexual Healing, and the Emmy Award-winning NBC show, Starting Over. Best-selling authors of Sexual Enlightenment, as I mentioned, endorsed by world-renowned spiritual pioneer, Dr. Michael Beckwith, and the co-founders of Tantra Nova Institute in Chicago. And they got nominated, get this, as Change Maker at the White House sponsored 2016 United States of Women Summit in Washington. And that's in DC. And Elsbeth and Freddy Zentel are beloveds, husband and wife, as well as business partners, and they reside in Chicago. And I just have to first say, we've never met before. And sometimes I look into my calendar and I say, oh, there's some more interviews to do. And I prep the night before and I'm like, oh my God. And I was saying this to them before we got started. I just want to be in your energy. What you be and do and stand for and teach is what inspires me. And so thank you for who you are, all the work you've done individually as a couple and what you share with the world. So thank you for gracing Intimate Conversations today.
Thanks for having us on your platform.
Yeah, thanks, Elena.
Thank you.
I'm on your mailing list, so I've been getting your emails so that I wanted to get to know you a little better before we talk. So I feel I know you already.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. So you've seen the videos of me paddleboarding in Wyoming where I live.
Wow.
Well, thank you for that honor as well. I'd like to know, before I hear the story of how you met yourself, how you met your intimate relationship with yourself, your sexuality, your soul, because I really believe when we become the one, we find the one, and that journey allows us to keep and thrive with the one. So how did you first meet yourself?
Wow, that's
a great way to put it.
Yes, beautiful way. So it definitely applies to me because I know if I hadn't met myself before on intimate, spiritual levels, I would not have been ready to actually recognize Freddy. And so how that all came to pass was that when I hit around 50, I was a management consultant then, and really good at consulting, but miserable at relationship.
Okay.
I had this pattern of attracting unavailable men. And while it was exciting, most of the time I was alone. And there came a very distinct moment when I could see the trajectory. If I was not going to change that, I would end up without lasting intimacy and love in my life before I left this planet. Now, I did have intimacy and love in my life, but I was not able to sustain it.
Okay.
So that is when I said to myself, I was somewhat despaired actually, because it had been a pattern. When you recognize a pattern, it's like, what am I going to do now?
Yeah.
Because if I knew how to change the pattern, I may have done it much earlier, So anyway, I said to myself, whatever you need to do, Elsbeth, go do it.
Yes.
That's what brought me to delving deeply into meditation and then the tantric practice.
Yeah.
Particularly the tantric practice was life-changing for me. What I discovered in the tantric healing was that I had held distrust towards men. Now, I was very charming. I was inviting, I was just like, you never would have called me a distrusting bitch if you had known me over 20 years ago. No, but underneath,
Sure.
in the subconscious, there was this, not trusting. And given that the practice of Tantra, that yoga of the energetic body, or Tantra is called as well, you get to tap into different dimensions, not just through talking and evaluating and analyzing, but really dropping into one's emotions and then into the physical and energetic body. And so there is where this all opened up for me. At first was like opening a valve, it was actually painful initially, both physically and emotionally, because I remembered where that may have all come from when I was 18 years old.
Yeah.
However, just opening a valve, first gets intense, but then it fizzles out.
Yes.
So in the same way, my emotions, my suffering, whatever I had held on this level could get released. And that was my meeting myself. And by clearing this, voila, 6 months later, my beloved came into my life.
Wow. Wow. So before we go, oh, please.
I don't think I would have recognized him. I would have seen him. He's a tall guy, basketball player, I would have seen him, but I would not have recognized him as a potential partner because he was available if I hadn't done that clearing work,
Right.
So what you said earlier, the one, once I have met the one within, then I can draw in the one outside.
I love this. Yes. So you were emotionally unavailable to yourself. This distrust was creating that separation on the inside. And you sound very eloquent and articulate and intelligent here, but it was the deeper inner work of feeling into that place of distrust of men and finding, I guess, that scared, maybe angry, maybe hopeless part inside of you and coming home to her like that.
Right. It was also what came up in the tantric healing was this, what it harkened back to when I was 18 years old. First love, first boyfriend. We were so in love with each other. I mean, it was blissful. And then they asked me to have intercourse. And I said yes, although I was not ready. Freakingly painful. I had to go to the gynecologist. The bill went to my house. My dad opened it.
Oh dear. Yes. Shame.
Oh, he called me a whore.
Oh.
The boyfriend left a few weeks later. So there I was totally alone, no someone to turn to. And that was the moment when I made a decision. Now, all of that came out in that healing work,
Yeah.
I remembered that story, but I didn't remember that it was so deeply ingrained because I had, a therapy around it, which was quite helpful. But the thing is that we can only talk about things that's accessible to the conscious mind. Yes. So anything that's underneath or on the cellular level, what?
We're not even aware. Yeah. Yeah. I so get that. Thank you so much for sharing that, because I'm a cum laude graduate of an Ivy League school. I'm a smart girl. And if I could figure out the pattern myself, I think I would have. But it was my body that showed me what I couldn't figure out here. Literally through the somatic integration work I've been doing, I watch my body push away. These strange things happen where I can smell smells, hear voices that I couldn't access when I was analyzing it from the conscious mind. But when I let the body lead and I witnessed and allowed, all this other information was arising that allowed, I don't know about you, but it allowed me to forgive myself. Because the conscious mind, my conscious mind was judging myself. You stupid woman, you can help all these other people with your career, but you can't help yourself. What's wrong with you? Like this was the bashing going on up here. But once I dropped into the somatics and let the body show me the way home, almost makes me cry a little as I'm telling you. I was like, oh, that's why, sweetie, that's why. And I could forgive myself and have that, come home to self. So thank you. So beautiful.
Eleanor, trusting, because that not trusting men, underlying that was not trusting myself.
Totally. Yeah. Every time.
Just like you know, why did I let this happen? Why didn't I speak up, like making myself wrong for it? No, that I now could trust myself again. That wherever I go, that this is a path for me.
Yes.
And so anyway, thank you for sharing this.
Oh, thank you. This is wonderful. Yeah. Normally we say, I can't trust them, but it's us. Or they betrayed me, but it's where did we betray ourselves? So yeah, I get that. Beautiful. Okay, so that was a little teaser. 6 months later, Tall, Dark, and Handsome walks in the room, but let's go over to Freddy first. And if you'd share your journey home to you.
Great. Yeah. Well, this is so great because people are all pretty much, we're kind of the same. So as we share these intimate stories, people think about themselves and can start to do their work. So I was first introduced to myself when I was 13 years old in the sexual realm, and I was going through my puberty, living in Hawaii, spending a lot of time in the shower. So my father was a practicing psychiatrist, and he took pity on me and gave me a book to read. I talked about how to integrate sex and meditation. Wow. So I loved it. My girlfriend loved it. And even more so, I learned a lot of practices, but one of the big pieces that I got out of it, I wanted to go to college. I was just a freshman in high school at the time on athletic scholarship, basketball, but I had doubts about my own capacity to play at that level. And again, it's a perception that we create. And so once I have that perception, that starts to become the reality. But the work allowed me through the meditation and the sexual piece that happens in the altered state in the sexual with the distinctions of the meditation practices, I was able to get past that story, that belief. And I went on to college, played basketball on athletic scholarship. And after college, I was in the software business for a long time in San Francisco. And I kept doing these workshops on these practices and reading books and applying these principles in my personal relationships. So I'd been in that business for about 20 years, and I was looking for something to invigorate, enliven my, inspiration about life, because it was just a job at that point. So there's an opportunity in Chicago. I'd never lived here before, gone to college with some guys from Chicago, but the opportunity looked good. They liked me. They hired me, moved me here. That was 21 years ago. I was single, online, looking for Shakti, a female tantra partner, and Elsbeth showed up. And soon as we met, 6 months to the day, we immediately, fell in love. But 6 months to the day, we transcended the romantic drama, and we put our resources together and created this business. Now, Elsbeth had already had an idea to create this business and actually started on it, but hadn't totally jumped in. She was still doing consulting, international business consulting.
I was waiting for him without knowing it.
Right. There you go, right?
It was the cherry on top that made it all come together with both of us. And thusly, 21 years, we've been doing this, books, tapes, television, traveled all over the world.
Chocolate on top.
Okay, the chocolate on top. I like that. These, of all the practices and approaches to transformation, there's none that I know of that teach how to work with sexual, altered state of consciousness to get more deeply connected to what we don't see, to shift, as you mentioned, both of you earlier, the frequency listening, because we're very good intellectually in the left brain. But when we start talking about listening frequency-wise, it's not something that we often tap into, because as soon as something happens, we're externally referenced, and it's because of this, the weather, she, he, whatever, and then we spin it, and we're ego, looking good, being right, and we never get to the listening to then come from that zero place to create what we most deeply desire.
Totally.
Love, the place, whatever it might be. And so it's an interesting time in history, and I think people are ready to listen to this. The sexual piece is the one piece that's so vilified. So, right now there's pornography, which is kind of great in terms of people being, at least exposed to this, particularly women who are seeing, oh, I can orgasm that way, I can do this, I can do that. I'm not saying that's the end all to be all. What I'm saying is once there's enough and been gorged with the pornography, then it's like, oh, well, what else can we do with this? Oh, we can meditate? So, I think things are starting to move in the right direction.
Got it. Whoa. Okay, let's just go back for 1 second. I want to talk more about when you say sexual, this alternative state of consciousness. And then you said like zero place. I've interviewed Nassim Haramein. I'm a geek. I love quantum physicists. I love all the science. So I want to be specific about what you're speaking of when you say this. Meditation, I totally get. I haven't studied a lot of Tantra, I'll be honest. I haven't been to a lot of Tantra workshops, but a lot of what I'll call alternate states of consciousness through dance, through movement, through meditation, through plant medicine, different things. So help us understand what you mean in a sexual way.
Sure.
And the zero
So
place.
whether we're doing consciousness work or not, when we're in our sexual activation, we're more open, loving, vulnerable, receptive. So emotionally, we're changed. Chemically, we're changed. More endorphins, serotonin, oxytocin, the feel-good hormones. So with distinctions in meditation of, as we teach them, breath awareness, energetic breathing, energetic awareness, like what's happening with my body on a level of 1 to 10 being the orgasmic moment. And in the meditation with intention, like I want to create a beloved. I want to stop arguing with my beloved. I want more sex. I want a work that's fulfilling, a place that's inspiring, whatever it might be. We get more unmasked in this altered state to ourselves beyond the ego, beyond the story. There's nothing more intimately exposing than just being nude in your energy. And that's the attractive thing about that energy forever. You know, for those 3 seconds of the orgasm, we're in that cosmic, experience of creation for a few moments. So when I say zero balance,
and it feels so blissful.
Of course, yes, I concur.
In that zero state of awareness, chemically and emotionally, with intention, we get to what I say is let go of a lot of, see through a lot of, catharticize a lot of whatever the story is that keeps us from allowing what we most deeply desire in. Because,
Let me just add a little something here, because what Freddy describes is really an advanced state of learning, of, incorporating all the dimensions that are available and, that we teach about. So a key dimension is to become more aware of our life force energy that is sexual in nature, but it doesn't always show up sexual as we use the word sexual.
Sure.
Now, we are speaking, listening. It's a subtle state of energy. And to tune with that energy, that life force energy that runs through us at all times, it came into us at the moment of conception and left us, or will leave us, it didn't leave us yet, at the moment when we leave this planet. We do not generate life force energy. However, it's given to us. However, we can affect life force energy in its flow through the, because life force energy and breath go hand in hand. When we don't breathe, we die. It's rather obvious. So learning to tune with that energy on in subtle states, Now this really requires some recalibration of the body, of the nervous system, and awareness. Then once the body is open to that flow, then we can introduce going to aroused levels. Because if we were to go there right away, nothing would change, because the nervous system is used to the way we have been engaging with our sexual aroused energy. For some people, for 20 years, for other people, perhaps for 80 years, And that is the nervous system is used to. So if we want to expand, we want to introduce something new, and first on the subtle level, and then take it into that aroused level, so that this practice of sexual meditation is not just a masturbation. Now, there's nothing wrong with masturbation, but it's very goal-oriented. Come to that high point.
Let me just add too, when you bring consciousness to the sexual, as we're sharing it, like breath awareness, intention, and energetic awareness, what starts to show up as the kernel of that energy is that it's creative, it creates life, and it's pleasurable. And Creativity and pleasure start showing up in areas of life that seem completely unrelated to sex in the simple process of living when you do this consciousness work in the sexual realm. Again, this energy was creating life before we had language. So there's an intelligence to tap into. Again, it's been so vilified over the millennia that we're starting to tap into something that's age old. And I think it'll be the shift that'll really create the possibility of peace on earth. I mean, you think of it's just a thought away.
So it's really, say this line about procreation.
Okay. Yeah. Right. So forever we've been procreating with this energy.
Yeah.
And so with the last 100 or so years with the development of contraceptives, we've been recreating with this energy. And so what we're sharing is how to co-create with the creative energy.
Yeah. And it requires awareness and intentionality, which alters that state into a sacred practice through which we can then create our well-being in the physical body, health, our emotional self, the well-being, mental well-being, and connection with a higher self. And not that this is a better self, it's just another dimension that we into, and through all of that become more integrated. So the sexual physical self is coherent and connected with my love and heart self, with my mental self, with my spiritual or consciousness self and the universe. And you mentioned plant medicine earlier. This is another way of altering brain chemistry. It's like plant medicine. It's all about brain chemistry. And through that, as Freddy said, these feel-good hormones get activated when we get aroused. And we use that then intentionally to imbue ourselves with that pleasurable, alive, creative energy. And we can channel it into our projects, into writing a book, into creating a relationship, either an existing one or the one we may want to bring into our life.
I was going to say, once you become aware consciously of pleasure in the way we're sharing it and the way it shows up as an ongoing way of living, it's an intentional thing and it's an awareness thing. So, I hate my job, 30 more years of retirement. That dog doesn't even hunt, because when you're listening energetically and frequency wise, what that language and that thought does to me is not something I even want to create a feeling for. Correct. So that's the listening that shifts when we start to bring consciousness at this vulnerable, really intimately, present stage that the sexual just leads us to. Anybody in a body can get it if they're willing.
Okay. Let me share. Sorry, this is so great. I love what you're saying. It's like what I knew, when you have a conscious or an unconscious competence, and then it starts to become a conscious competence. I don't know if either of you have children, but I have a 19-year-old boy. But when he was really small, I remember one day the sun was coming through the window and it touched his eyelashes, and he just looked like an angel. But what I experienced in my body was what I called at the time sexual turn on. And I'm just like, you're a pedophile, like, stop it, shut it down. Because I'd only ever until then, so that was almost 20 years ago, only thought about sexual energy as, body parts meeting, genital copulation, bound, chicka, bound, bound. That was it. And in that moment, I'm like, I'm pretty sure I'm not a pedophile, but this is the same feeling. So let me expand my viewpoint of what sexual energy really is. And then I saw and learned the whole spectrum, from that healing, caring, tender energy, the divine mother energy, to the creative, generative, let's write a book or a podcast, this kind of energy. And it helped me turn from a closed heart anger into an open-hearted, fierce love. This is what I'm going to stand for. This is my boundary. And then, of course, the eroticism, so much more unapologetic nature to invite what was pleasurable to me, no longer shamed as bad or dirty or wrong or nasty, but as sacred. So this whole thing like opened up this way. And then I realized I could go this way of like turning it up to a 10 or down to a 1. But the most beautiful thing was that I never had to turn it off. And to me, I've developed different processes over the years for my clients, but one of them is called making love with the universe. I never have to stop and turn off my sexual energy. I'm always dancing with the divine. So as I'm listening to you, I'm like, yep, that's pretty cool. I totally agree. And yet I'm single. I'm not in a relationship living this. So I'm very curious. So the awareness piece and the patience piece as well, right? If we've only been living here or only seeing sexuality as one dimension. So awareness, bringing it into our body, the subtleties, patience, and then using this energy for intentionality. Please describe more what your lovemaking is like when it comes to the intentionality. Is it a conversation before? Is it a declaration? Is it a vision you share about after? Is it a little bit of each? I'm very unclear what intentionality with lovemaking in a partnership, love relationship, and business partnership really looks like.
So,
Okay, I'll just say, I'll
Okay.
just start a little bit. So one of the things we do are rituals. So sex practice rituals where I'm a receiver or a giver and she would be a giver or vice versa. And in
Yes.
that place, it's not like mutual lovemaking. So
Okay.
that's another place, and that's what we teach in one of our advanced workshops. So in that place, I'm exposed to myself in this altered state of sexual energetic given to by another. And in that place, I'm able to really, really be with whatever shows up around my intention. It could be sadness, anger, disappointment, whatever. It's not mutual lovemaking where you're concerned about the other. Now, different when you're in a mutual lovemaking place. That's an advanced level. You can do all kinds of things because you can play in this microcosmic orbit where you're just back and forth with the sexual energy. You can be in coitus and squeeze and release. You can have an intention. We set intentions all the time without even making love because we're constantly through the day, we're doing little quickies, and we could share one of those little quickies. And they're not sexual necessarily, but what they do is they drop you out of the left brain and into a heart listening and
Nice.
energetic vibrational movement. And that reminder and that constant being able to come back to that really allows a clarity of what you're creating, what you're doing, what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what you're present to.
Yeah.
A guy was going to say earlier that we could teach these practices to nuns and priests if they were vowed to celibacy, because it's not about having sex. It's about being, like you shared, what that energy is.
Yeah. Stunning.
And that's where the world is. That's what I was talking about, that quantum spiritual leap that we have. That we're still stuck in a lot of the vilification and pornography and so on, but yet it's in our face. So now what else can we do after we've gorged ourselves with McDonald's? What else can we do? What else can we do? That's vegetables and good.
I love this. I would like to see a heart listening quickie. If you could explain that, that'd be lovely. But you want to share something else first?
Oh, no, I think it's good right now in the conversation to do that practice.
Okay.
It's coherent.
Okay.
Okay, so we have the agreement, Freddy and I, that when one or the other comes to the other, wants to connect, and we do this in a very particular way. Let's say Freddy comes to me over, why don't you tell the story?
Okay, so if she's engrossed in something or vice versa, and she's not on the phone, but she's just like in something, I might come over and I'll do like a mudra, front, fourth chakra, heart chakra in the back of mudra. And then I will just, she'll just stop. She won't go, what are you doing? What? She stops and we just drop into the breathing. So now we breathe in together. We breathe out together. And then on the inhalation, she visualized receiving energy into her heart. And on the exhalation, she visualizes sending energy into mine. And so we're just doing that with the energy.
Don't take it away.
Yeah.
So it alters immediately the state of being and allows each of us to drop into inner stillness and stillness with each other.
Yes.
And it is like, for 3 breaths. It's not a long practice. And of course, if you have done it, frequently, it's like your whole being goes into it just in a nanosecond.
Yes.
There's also another one, which, and in principle, they are all the same. They, but they are
sending and receiving.
Yeah. So where we look into each other's eyes, we place our left hand on each other's heart center.
The left eye.
And then when we breathe in, I receive from Freddy's hand in my heart, his heart from my hand in his heart. And on the exhalation, so Freddy sends I send. So there is a circuit, breathing in and breathing out. It's very circular. And we look into each other's left eye because the left eye is associated with the right brain hemisphere, which is the feeling, the experiential, the artistic dimension of the brain.
Nice.
So
Yes.
we drop right away also in terms of the brain into that space of, ooh, and so again, we do this, or the tantric hug, which is the same principle, where we then just place heart to heart,
Yes.
So what's essential here is that each of us bring full focus, commitment,
Yes.
and intention.
And present. Right
And
there.
then attention on, say this.
Right. So one of the tricks to this is people will listen to this and they'll go, let's try it. And then they connect, and now they're thinking and waiting and looking for something like, okay, I don't feel anything. Do you feel anything? I don't know. I'm just breathing. Do you feel it? So what you do, because the mind is busy and that's what it does. It wants to analyze, fix, and, make right. That's how it justifies its existence, and that left brain looking good thing. So what you do is you put your mind's focused attention on the location and the breath and your intention to move in the direction that you're willing and wanting to. So you move it.
Your intention is just moving the energy.
In the direction that you want to. And then on the inhalation, you're visualizing attention on the sensation and intention to move it into your heart. And then you start to get a very visceral, and you can do that same practice with sexual energy too. And it becomes very, very visceral.
And circulate love energy, and also what we recommend when we work with couples is that instead of staying up here when they have a fight, and we do this, instead of staying in the justification, the explanation, the make wrong, the defending, because that is really up here. When you up into our heart,
it all goes away.
Breathe and then connect with the other side. We can start listening from the heart.
Yes.
The head. And while there may be something that really needs attention in the relationship, a concern, but the way how I bring myself is very different when I listen from my heart than when I listen and speak from my head.
Absolutely. Curious question. I play, again, I said I've never studied a lot of things, but I haven't studied Tantra yet. But I do notice personally, when I source my communications from my head, from my heart, but also from my yoni, it's different. And when I practice with my clients, I'm like, let's just, for shits and giggles, let's practice something today. Let's all say who we are, what we do, where we're from, whatever, from these lips. And then ladies, do it again from your other set of lips. Or gentlemen, do it from your balls. Let's just see what happens. And they giggle, but then they try it. And there's something about bringing the awareness down into the hara, the soul, the hips, source through an open heart. All attachment just dissolved. I'm just being, and it's very magnetic. And we're like, damn, you're pretty sexy. You don't show up like that on these calls. And so what would you say to us? Because I do understand what you were saying right now about the intention and attention through the heart. What about through the genitals, through our sacred genitals as the source of the communication, source of the energy movement?
Same practice. I mean, in terms of bringing the awareness to the sexual reason, the second chakra, then you are then squeezing, perhaps you could, guide a Kegel, squeeze and release to bring some blood flow to that area. So some more physical awareness. And then with breath, release, and then put your attention on the location and sensation and intention to move it up to your heart. On your inhalation. And you could teach that, and that becomes something that people start to get accustomed to. They go, wow, I could really actually start to feel some movement. And they start somatically connected, because we're so up here. Because once you start to breathe and bring awareness to this, you might be angry, but you have a choice. You can either stay in that anger. It's not the only thing that's possible. And once we're better at this kind of listening, when we are like animals and get angry, disappointed, or whatever, we can more quickly get off of it.
Yeah.
practice, and not to beat up, we don't beat up, oh God, here I am, I'm supposed to be a guru, or or whatever. You're human. We get angry, we get disappointed, we get sad. All these things happen. It's just they don't stick around as long.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful.
You brought something here that may really be helpful for the whole energy dimension, because energy is so elusive. We cannot see it, with the mere eye, like the frequencies, the cell phone frequencies, we cannot see them.
Sure.
In your space, they are in our space. TV, antenna frequencies, all of that. So, and there are these frequencies, within the circuit, and then frequency with another person. It's ever present. We may not be aware of it, but once we step into it, we can then alter it. So,
oh, right. So it's an energy ball, works on open and closed systems. But when I complete the connection within myself, the ball lights up.
Oh.
When I add Elsbeth to it, the ball lights up. And if you do this with a group, any size, we've done it with 100 people, then anybody who breaks a connection breaks a circuit.
Yeah.
And people see, oh, wow, there's this connection that's there.
Yeah.
Wow.
So great theory right there. It looks like,
in couplehood, that is what we mean by tuning with each other. From the heart, of course, we can also tune with our consciousness.
That would be the microcosmic orbit when you're in coitus and you do that and you start.
Okay, so we can also connect with our, third chakra, that's the belly, the gut, where may reside. It depends. So just one can place their hand on the other's, place wherever that may call for or is needed. As we can connect with our sexual centers, so they start to attune and flow with each other. So this is just a great demonstration, because that ball makes frequency audible and visible, because we cannot hear the sound of the sun rays. We can see the sun rays, but we cannot hear the sound. It doesn't mean that because you hear it, that there's not a sound, or the vibrations from my vocal cords, running to your eardrums or Freddy eardrums or whoever is listening right now.
Yes.
We can hear these frequencies, we cannot see them.
Yeah, beautiful.
That have a visual aspect, but we are just not set up for it. So the ball really is a beautiful way of understanding better, also for our mind to get a little bit some food for understanding what is available in the tuning, of course, through the breath. Because when we do synchronized breathing, we cannot but feel coming together. It is so sweet and so immediate.
Yeah.
Unifying, where actually a sense of oneness arises. It just arises. It's not constructed.
Yes. It's like the universe is making love with each of you individually, while each of you are making love with each other. It's like it's happening in both directions. What has happened in your business life because of your beautiful tantric, this love making together, that you both have been successful on your own, but coming together? I'm wondering if it's 1 and 1 is 2, or if it's 1 and 1 is infinity. Like it's even more that's possible. That's what I believe, choose, inspire in my clients. I'm yet to having experienced it with a partner myself, but I know in my bones that it's 1 and 1 is infinity when we're connected with self and with each other this way. So share with us what maybe miracles, or wow, that was easier than I thought, or wow, that was more creative than I ever could have come up with on my own. And we can tie together your sexual relationship and your business relationship.
Yeah, Elena, the very fact that we found each other is a miracle. Fred grew up at the West Coast in Hawaii. I'm from Germany.
Right.
I came to Chicago with my late husband. My late husband passed away in 96. First heartbreaking, but then later on I saw, the universe had something in store for me.
Yes.
Because otherwise I would not have met Freddy.
Sure.
But again, that in a work that we spoke about earlier, that readying myself, that this, for me, it's still a miracle that we met up. It's just like, and then, I had on my list of what I wanted in a man, like that he either would be very interested in practicing Tantra
Yes.
or already practicing Tantra. And then in the second email or so, Freddy wrote me, and by the way, I grew up in a tantric household. I said, what? I didn't even know that this existed.
Lies. Lies. It was just to get her.
I know. I checked with his dad. So it meant that his parents must have practiced this in the 60s, long before Tantra became more,
Popular. Yeah.
the West. So anyway, but then the thing was that I was ready for a shift in my life, on a personal level.
Yes.
That through the tantric learning and getting certified as a tantra teacher, I left the consulting firm. I was clear I wanted to work with people and women also in that clearing, in that opening into this wonderful aliveness,
Mm.
Then for Freddy coming into my life, it often I see him as the wind underneath my wings.
Yeah. Beautiful.
I could spread my wings further
Mm.
and really drop into what I came here for,
Nice.
which is sharing this possibility of sexual, emotional, spiritual, unity and wholeness within and in couplehood, no matter if it's heterosexual or homosexual or bisexual or transgender couple, it doesn't matter. It's the same principle of these energies flowing.
I want
Yes.
to say that this work has been so powerful because we get people of all levels of education and economics all over the world, not yogis and yoginis. These people have, and they come with stuff like they don't want to get a divorce. And they have a vision of what they want. And
Yeah.
so practices allow them to get past the old clay that we are, to live into this elegant design of the universe that is also our lineage, the stars and the universe that goes on for ad infinitum,
Yes.
single-celled amoebas, multicelled organisms, and that's our lineage. So this sexual energy creating life before we had language, there's an
Yes.
intelligence, and we tap into in a way that allows, again, that zero balance, as I talked about earlier, and we're able to then move into what this vision of possibility is. And that's happened for people over and over again for the last 21 years.
Now also how it has altered your life, your being in the world, and embellishing your passions, our being together.
Well, of course, Elsbeth is the wings under my, the wind under my wings too. So this work is really fulfilling in so many ways for me. I was, in corporate America, and I came out of a hippie psychiatrist household. We lived on a houseboat in Sausalito, and our next door neighbor was Alan Watt, my father, and he used to
Oh my God, that's so amazing.
Timothy Leary, my father, and he used to meet at Esalen, where we've taught for years. We were on faculty.
Wow.
Ram Dass, all these people used to come talk at my father's institute, which is a creative institute for living in Los Angeles. For years, he had that. And so I was around, that was my early life, then there was college, and then there was corporate America. And I always felt like a fraud because making money, but it was like, I know there's more to this than this game.
Yes.
And so coming and meeting Elsbeth and then getting out of that and creating this work 21 years ago has so fulfilled me, because musically, I get to do my music stuff. I sing jazz, and then we do these soirees at our institute, and people come in their tuxedos, and I get to entertain. I love to teach. I taught school for a while, so this is teaching that work. I love sexual energy, always did, and teaching new ways of how to get more deeply connected to what we most really deeply desire in our world, in our lives, and get out of this living like we're never going to die and dying like we've never lived, and that's where a lot of people are at. I hate my job, 30 more years of retirement is how people live. And so I'm so excited to be a part of this burgeoning consciousness that is happening in the world. I feel the glass is half full. We're moving in the right direction, even with all the things that seem so horrible, the George Floyd's and political stuff that goes on, that all of that is waking us up.
Yes.
What we didn't see before.
Yeah.
We can see better, so your kids are going to see a better world.
Slap my ass damn straight. Yep.
Right.
I love it. 21 years, and it's like you just got started. Your vitality is amazing. Your commitment is amazing. I want everyone to know alanapratt.com/sexual enlightenment. And is that an audio book? Did I remember that right?
Yes, it's an
Tell
audio.
us.
It's also available in hard copy on Amazon and Kindle, and
Great.
more recently in audio version.
Wonderful. And so what will people will get an overview of what we've been talking about today in this book
Yeah, it
or
goes
audio?
deeper, of course. What I feel like it's like a taste we could share, how it may feel, what may be possible. And the book really drills it down in terms of both the construct behind the work, the history, and then practices. And then, of course, examples from clients, what has shifted for them in their real life of struggle, of hopes, of openings. So it's just, it's a good way into learning more about the tantric practice. And also just what whoever is reading it or listening to it may glean for themselves, because there's certain things you can bring right into your life as a practice.
Beautiful. Well, I encourage you all to go to, you can go to alanapratt.com/sexual enlightenment. You can also search for sexual enlightenment on Amazon. You can also go to tantranova.com and learn more about this extraordinary couple. As I'm going through just the little bit of notes, I was mesmerized and never wanted to stop looking at you. But awareness, intentionality, breath, body, altered states of consciousness, the zero place, and really seeing our sexual energy as this way we are truly co-creating with the universe and with our beloved. And we started with ourself, coming home to ourself as well. So I really appreciate you sharing your journey today. Thank you for being on the planet. You're inspirational. Chicago's not that far from Wyoming, so you never know when I might be showing up in my ball gown for your jazz singing.
Next Saturday, the 29th, come on down. We're doing a soiree on that night.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. And then for all of you viewers or listeners, I'm sure there were many moments in this conversation that sparked something. It could have been a feeling of inspiration. It could have been a feeling of, oh God, shame. Something moved in you from listening to this conversation. So I encourage you, don't just turn it off. Take 5 minutes, get a journal out, meditate, go for a walk in nature, and allow this conversation, whatever it woke up in you, follow it all the way through to its integration so that you are more from spending time with us here on Intimate Conversations. I'm with you. I love you. I have your back. And our intimate relationship with ourselves, to me, is the most fundamental building block of our self-realization. So coming home to yourself, look what it can blossom in this beautiful couple that we've been with today and what it can blossom on our planet. So I love you. And until next time, all my blessings. Thank you for joining us for another edgy, transparent episode. I want you to be able to do more, stress less, feel happier, like I have with Magic Mind. So for Intimate Conversations listeners, you can get 40% off with my code INTIMATE20 when you go to magicmind.co/intimate. You're going to feel amazing, I promise. Thank you for being who you are. I love the shit out of you. Until next time, I've got your back.